There's an idea floating around today that the ideal man is harmless, that he's nice, and quiet, and agreeable, and never intimidating, never confrontational, never forceful, never standing up for the truth. Just safe. When confrontation comes, they go the other way. But here's the problem. Harmless men don't protect anything. They don't lead, and they certainly don't hold the line when things get hard. Historically, when dangerous men disappear, chaos fills the gap. Now, let me be clear. I'm not talking about violent men. I'm not talking about angry men. And I'm definitely not talking about reckless men. I'm talking about something older, something stronger. The dangerous gentleman. A man capable of strength, but governed by righteousness. That's the man that families trust, communities need, and history remembers. It's the dangerous gentleman that lives a life of consequence, a life of meaning, and a life of purpose. That life that we all want to lead. So what is a dangerous gentleman? Well, here's a simple definition. A dangerous gentleman is a man with the capacity for strength, courage, and decisive action, who chooses to place it under moral control. He's a nice guy until it's time to not be nice. He's capable, but not volatile. He's assertive, but not arrogant. Protective, not aggressive. Convicted, not rigid. He's not harmless, but he is disciplined. And that discipline makes him formidable. Because when push comes to shove, and when duty calls, he shows up. And if you look at history, and honestly, scripture too, the men who carried real authority weren't reckless men. They were anchored men. Men who understood they weren't the ultimate authority. And that perspective matters, because when a man believes he answers only to himself, strength turns into ego pretty fast. But when a man recognizes that there's something higher, God, truth, moral law, call it what you will, his strength gets direction. It becomes protective instead of destructive. And that's where the gentleman part comes in. And if we step further back, one of the clearest examples of a dangerous gentleman is King David before he ever wore a crown. This is a man who killed a lion and a bear while protecting a sheep. He walked onto a battlefield when seasoned soldiers were frozen in fear. He faced Goliath, not recklessly, but with absolute confidence that he wasn't standing alone. And here's what's interesting. David never bragged about his own strength. He constantly pointed back to God. And that kept him grounded. Because David wasn't dangerous just because he could fight. He was dangerous because he had courage and conviction. And he knew his strength had a purpose beyond himself. That combination made him formidable and trustworthy. Now, here's a more modern example. Theodore Roosevelt. And he was certainly a dangerous gentleman. Like the rest of us, he wasn't perfect by any means. But his life can be instructive to us today. You see, young Theodore was a sickly kid with severe asthma. And he was actually told that he'd always be physically weak. So what did he do? Well, he could have sat back and accepted it, but he didn't. He built himself. He began boxing and hiking and ranching, and he entered into military service and eventually went into public leadership. He deliberately became strong, physically, mentally, morally, and when crisis came, he led the Rough Riders in combat, took political stands that cost him, and challenged corruption when it wasn't popular. Now notice what I just said. He became deliberately strong. He made a conscious decision to change where he was into the man he wanted to be. Roosevelt wasn't dangerous because he liked conflict. He was dangerous because he refused the easy way out when duty called. Now, what does that look like today? Well, most men are not going to charge up San Juan Hill, but the need for dangerous gentlemen hasn't disappeared. If anything, it's greater today than ever before. So what does being a dangerous gentleman look like today in the modern world? Well, it means standing for truth when it costs you socially, being faithful when infidelity is normalized, raising children with conviction in a culture that's very confused, leading your family spiritually, refusing laziness, passivity, and endless comfort. And sometimes Being a dangerous gentleman means putting yourself in harm's way when everyone else is running the other direction. See, modern danger isn't usually physical. Oftentimes, it's moral, which can be scarier than physical. And moral courage, it's rare today. So why does it matter anyway? Well, it matters because vacuum always gets filled. If strong, principled men don't lead, weak and immoral leadership steps in. Cultural drift accelerates, families suffer, communities suffer, institutions decay, and with them, societies. And good people suffer. A man built for purpose who settles for comfort becomes restless, disconnected, and oftentimes bitter. You see it everywhere. Men numbing themselves with distraction because they know deep down they were made for something more. Dangerous gentlemen don't escape responsibility. They step towards it. And sometimes reluctantly, but they still act when they are called to. All right, let's get practical here. If a young man asks me, Dennis, how do I become a dangerous gentleman? Here's exactly what I tell them to do. Step 1, build physical competence. Not vanity fitness, but capable fitness. Not looking strong, but actually being strong. Strength training, endurance, sports, basic self-defense. Not to intimidate people, but so you're not physically helpless if someone needs you. It's called the Batman moment. When they call Batman, he's ready to do Batman things. Same holds true for us today. Remember, a capable body supports a steady mind. And step 2, develop moral convictions. You need to decide ahead of time what you stand for, what you won't compromise on, who you ultimately answer to. Dangerous gentlemen don't ever compromise their morals. Now, provided your morals are grounded in truth, God's truth, then compromise requires you to live a lie. And if you live a lie long enough, your life will have no meaning. You will grow old knowing you could have stood for something greater than yourself, but you took the easy road. You failed yourself, your family, your community, your country. Now, not only do morals play a role in forming a dangerous gentleman, so does spirituality, whether you use that word or not. Because every man is ultimately shaped by what he worships. Comfort, status, approval, success, or something higher. The dangerous gentleman pays attention to that. He asks, what is actually forming me? Because whatever sits at that center of your life will eventually steer your decisions, especially under pressure. And step 3, master your emotions. The dangerous gentleman isn't explosive. He's controlled. He's calm under pressure. He's measured in speech, slow to anger, because self-control is strength and lack of it is weakness. And step 4, choose responsibility over comfort. This is the big one. Every day, do something hard on purpose. Challenge yourself. Don't be content with who you are today. Tomorrow, commit to being something better. Keep commitments. Say you will do something and do it. Be that a commitment to someone else or to yourself. Show up when it's inconvenient. Stop being lazy. And finally, finish what you start. Now, this one hits close to home because this is one I've got to work on constantly. I'll start something with every intention of completing it, and then something else grabs my attention, and I never go back to the first thing. When you do this, you leave a trail of half-finished projects and to-do lists. Don't be like me. If something is worth starting, it's worth finishing. And remember, comfort is a tool, not a destination. And step 5, anchor yourself spiritually. If you're a believer, stay rooted in Scripture, prayer, and community. Because strength without righteousness eventually turns destructive. And righteousness without strength gets ignored. You need both. And if you're not sure where you land on faith, here's my challenge to you. Don't ignore the question. Strong men investigate things that matter. So spend some time exploring it. Seriously, not casually. You might find more than you expected. And here's another aspect of being a dangerous gentleman that isn't always talked about out in public, but it needs to be. As a man, you are called to protect your family, your friends, your communities, and sometimes your country. And that may mean you are called to violence. Not violence for the sake of violence, but sometimes the evil that walks the earth alongside of us gives us no other choice. And should that day ever come, you need to be prepared. Now, how you do that and how you decide to project violence towards evil is strictly up to you. But when violence becomes the last resort, you had better be prepared to win, because if not, evil will. All right, let's wrap this up. The world doesn't need more loud men. We certainly have enough of them already. And we don't need flashy men or aggressive men. The world needs steady men, men with quiet strength, clear conviction, and disciplined character. You know, the gray man, the dangerous gentleman. Men capable of force, but defined by restraint. Men who don't chase conflict, but don't run from it either. Because when good men grow strong and stay righteous, people sleep better, families flourish, and cultures stabilize. And that's the goal. Not dominance and not ego. My name is Dennis Gill, and this is the Faith and Fortitude Project. And I want to thank you very much for watching to the end. And if you got something out of this, please consider liking and subscribing, and share it with someone who might need to hear it. And remember, faith first, fortitude always. Now let's get after it.